Ineos is on a serious hunt. Who will they bring down next? I will tell you about what's going on at Manchester United as we do look to put in place a structure that is expected to lead the resumption, the rebirth of Manchester United. Well, certainly it is something we are all praying and hoping for. We are hoping it goes well for Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos. My name is Webb. Welcome to the United Sport, and yet again at exactly 10 p.m. I don't know what time it is where you are. A certain lady, a usual resident here, Namutebi, was begging that we pull this show an hour earlier. You can tell me whether you agree with that. If you do, I could consider it, but you can go into the comments section and let me know because it's about the majority of you, but we listen to all your requests. Well, it is the night show. Yet again, we are here to talk about Man United. There is news for you guys to follow. I dropped you one giving you the injury situation as Rasmus Højlund could, quote me right, could return and be available for the game against Everton, but it's only could. We'll get the facts later before the game takes place on the 9th of this month. But what we know is that Ineos are seriously putting together a structure for Manchester United with sporting directors now being looked at. I mean, sporting directors are the most technical people when it comes to these clubs. Now, a name that will be familiar with, that is Dougie Friedman, is re-emerging as a possible top guy there. United are looking to bring in and to boost the structure that already seems to be exciting, because if you've got Umar Berada from Man City, you've got who is on gardening leave, by the way, since we did get him from Man City, so he will have to wait until the end of the season, until July. That's when he can work. So is the man from Brighton, that is Dan Ashworth, who is also on gardening leave. So Ineos are looking to add more, and this time around they have gone to Crystal Palace to poach their sporting director. His name is Dougie Friedman, and Manchester United are looking to fetch him and bring him as the head of recruitment at the club. This is the job that we believe will be so important, because trust you me, if you look at some of the players we've recruited over the years, you look at the so many players who've been signing, you clearly see that there have been all the wrong people brought in. And honestly, perhaps it's because the team before was trying to try it out with new guys who are not exactly experienced in this business. But the people that are being linked with Manchester United now under Ineos are guys who have been tested, approved, and trusted. Because the Dougie Friedman we're talking about, besides playing for Crystal Palace and coaching them, he has been very instrumental in starting, what we are seeing as a resurgence of Crystal Palace. They look more exciting. They've got some players there who are linked to Manchester United, players like Michael Olise, who has been for a long time reportedly said to be the top target that Ineos wants to bring in first in the summer. I don't want to go so much into that, but we see how exciting he is. We can all admit here that that boy was a hit. Then you talk about another player that Man United has been linked with, that is the English international who was born in Ivory Coast, Mark Guehi, the centre back who has been linked to Manchester United as well. And in fact, it is said that us bringing in this man, the sporting director from Crystal Palace, would give us an edge in trying to sign him, to sign Guehi. So you look at the people Ineos is looking at, and you clearly see that they're not trying out things. They want to get those who are tried and tested at whichever cost and come and do the work, because they've got the experience. They know what they're doing, instead of trying to gamble with people who have no idea about how football works. The other guy that Ineos have been looking at is a guy that again is currently working as a sporting director at Southampton. His name is Jason Wilcox. Now this guy has for a long time been linked to Manchester United, and he was at Man City before as well. So perhaps he won't be exactly alien to Omar Berada, and probably that's why he's being looked at. They want to bring him as the head of technical and technical and performance management or something like that. So you realize that the structure is bound to be solid. They want to decentralize roles. And I remember Sir Jim Ratcliffe coming out and saying when he first visited Old Trafford, one of the things he noticed was that the organization was, or the club was, overstaffed. and we had all the wrong stuff. You can imagine we were overstaffed, but we didn't have people in certain positions in the structure. So you're thinking, what are all those staffs doing? What are they what are all those staff doing? What is their role? What if you don't have the right people running the football, and yet you have so many people? Then it clearly shows you don't have a proper direction or structure of where you want to go. So that's why it is clear that the mess is huge, and that's why we are being linked with so many people to come in and try to boost the squad. So I think what I see clearly is that Ineos are solution driven. Whatever people they're pointing to, people who are coming in to solve a problem that we see. And for me, that has been a problem for a long time, because you think about, even when you go down to players, because those are the most important assets we have. You think about some of the players we've signed. I've told you before, what solution were we getting from Mason Mount, for example? What we have got so many problems, but we fail to get people to solve them. What solution was Mason Mount giving us? None. You look at Anthony and you're thinking, yes, he could have looked exciting in the Dutch league, but the Eredivisie is not the Premier League. What solution was Anthony going to give us when we had all the wingers we had at the club? So you think about it and you're thinking, maybe that's because the approach of the guys in charge was not a solution-driven approach. We're just bringing in guys because they're exciting and the manager wants them, we bring them, but not solving problems. So Ineos is exactly doing that, solving problems for Manchester United, which I think for me is a beautiful thing to see, because the recruitment problem, by the way, guys, has been so glaring at Manchester United. Because imagine, we've never complained about not having money, and we can fault the Glazers for a lot of things, but they have always had the money available for these coaches and these CEOs to spend in the transfer windows. You look at the billions that have been spent post Sir Alex Ferguson, and your mind might break. But the thing is, uh, what what kind of players were we bringing in? What what kind of players were we spending all the money on? The best players at Man United now are mostly players from the academy, and you're thinking, what then were we doing signing all these money? Sandro Martinez did. Casemiro did for one season. We're not sure he's going to do it for long. So you think about all this and you're thinking, certainly had to bring in a different person to recruit the right players for Manchester United, so that we stop complaining and trying to support players who are clearly not Man United quality. With regards to whoever is playing, thank you so much, Rita. You made a request that we pull the show by 1 hour. I recognize that. I appreciate your request, and of course, it is definitely considered. Just that it's not really an easy thing to move the time of the show that has been going on at a particular time for a long time. But of course, we can listen to the majority and try to see whether that works. I've personally got no problems with going an hour earlier, coming an hour earlier, if that is what the majority of the people watching think is true. Because I might pull it by an hour, and then someone in another country will say, at 9 is a bad time, is maybe too early. So it's a bit difficult. I thought 10 is a bit a good compromise, because think about people in the UK now. I think it's 7. I think in the UK, 10 is 7. At times it's 8, depending on the season. But now I think it's 7. There are 3 hours behind. Then for you it's ahead. It's 11. Then there are people in Malawi. I don't know what time it is in Malawi. Kavuta could come on later and tell us. Then people in Zambia. So many different people, and we need to get a time that suits everyone. But Namtebi, your request was noted, and it's highly considered. Thank you so much. But let's continue with of course, what's going on. So the recruitment for me is important. So we are waiting to see, before we get ahead of recruitment, we've got to recruit them. So what is going on now is we're approaching now these clubs. Now also, I spoke about Jason Wilcox, who is being looked at to come in as the technical and performance manager at Manchester United. Now, for me, that's another important role for Man United. He's currently the sporting director at Southampton, and he's one of those guys who have sort of made a name for themselves, because you look at Southampton really, and you clearly see what they do. You see that they have got the right people bringing in the players for them, because Southampton, I think, has for the longest time been one of those clubs that make the most money out of the sale of players. They may not keep players long to try and compete for titles. For them, they are okay being there, performing, and bring in young players, then sell them for crazy figures after. So for them, they are okay with their approach. And these are the guys who have been behind that work. So you think about us having all these people, and one is from Man City, someone from Brighton, then or Newcastle, then we have someone from Crystal Palace, then you have someone from Southampton. I feel like for me, it shows you the size of the problem we had, how humongous our problem was, and I think for me it's very promising. It's encouraging, and I want to see. I'm excited to see this done. I think it is highly likely these two will join. Of course, they are now. It is believed they could be discussing competitions with Crystal Palace and stuff. But for me, I believe for me, I am excited to see what this will deliver for Man United in terms of solving for us all these big problems that we've had. I posted a poll, or rather, a poll for you on our, of course, I posted something here and I was asking that who is Manchester United's most improved player in your view? And I put options like Andre Onana, I said Diogo Dallo, Harry Maguire, Marcus Rashford, and Rasmus Højlund. Now, 25 people have voted so far, and 44%, which is the most, say Andre Onana has been our most improved player. Then followed by Diogo Dallo, who has got 28%. Then 24% say Højlund, and 4% say Rashford. No one thinks Maguire is anywhere close to our best improved players. You can comment on that poll as well. But speaking of that, I do want to talk about Andre Onana and how Andre Onana is improving by the day. Guys, I know we have always continuously come out here and bashed these players for their lack of performance, because that has been the story for the most part of the season, hasn't it? But I feel like if there's one player who, for me, is showing character and personality every day that passes, I think it's Andre Onana. I think, and again, I want to give credit to Eric Ten Hag for standing his ground and believing in him even when everyone was attacking him for his decision to bring him. But Eric Ten Hag has got something you want if you're a player, something about him that he will back his players from, at least if they are performing, if he believes in what they can do, he will back them until he can back them no more. And I'm thinking he's getting to that point with Anthony Dos Santos. I think for me, the way he backed Andre Onana when everyone was calling for the debut of Altel Bayindil, and until now, Altel Bayindil has not started a single Premier League game. For me, it's very important. It shows you the kind of relationship he tries to build with his players. No wonder players like Sofian Amrabat had to wait for him, yet they were wanted by so many other clubs. But I think for me, for a manager to have that about him, I think it's a sign of trust, and players want a manager who will show them that trust and feel like they are appreciated. And even when the whole world has turned against them, the way we've turned against Anthony, you need that one player, the manager, that's the manager, to back you. Even when your teammates are not backing you, you need to have the backing of the manager. Now, the thing is, with Anthony, it has become completely difficult to back him anymore. That it looks ugly on Eric Ten Hag, and I'm sure whenever he puts him there, now you can see he's beginning to introduce him when he wants someone who's going to add to the defense, to try and track back because of his work rate. So he's no longer really one he expects to contribute to him going forward when you're looking for goals. But going to Andre Onana, I think Andre Onana's improvement are going to be so important for Manchester United. And this is because of how Eric Ten Hag wants to play. Because if you're going to play from the back, obviously the fact that the goalkeeper sees the entire pitch is the one guy who is going to have to be on their best game. They've got to be on their best behavior if they're going to dictate play from the back. So you need to have your goalkeeper passing well, having a good accuracy in his range. You need to have your goalkeeper confident, and be able to make the right decisions, know when to pass the ball to who, at what point. So you think about all that, and it looks like it's all beginning to click and make sense for Andre Onana. And it's a good thing because it then will make the team better. You see that he has contributed to some of the goals we've scored in the past days, either on the counter or even those we have tried to build from the back. That he is the one who dictates how we play and how we move. Before, he was struggling. He was giving passes to sort of save himself from the ball. He used to fear the ball as if before he was a bit timid. His reflexes were a fraction of a second late. And you see, in the Premier League, you're a fraction of a second late as a goalkeeper. That's another one in. But you see that every day Onana is improving his communication, his one-on-one, one-on-one situations. And for me, it's a good thing. It's a commendable thing because I've never at any one point doubted the fact that Onana can be a world-class goalkeeper because he has proved it before. So that kind of trust, and it is paid by performances, for me is important, and it is what has eluded Antonio dos Santos for the longest time, which I think is a huge problem for him. But yeah, all these uh, 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 these are issues we are going to perhaps hope will be solved when we bring in a new head of recruitment with Ineos. We will be signing the right players and for the right money as well, by the way. It will no longer be about a few people, one, two people sitting and deciding. It's now going to be a whole team meticulously thinking about they want to bring in and sign them. So for me, and it won't be so long when that happens. It won't take so long because of the experience being brought in. Of course, some can say that too many chefs can spoil the food because we are bringing so many. These professionals will clash and fail to deliver. I think for me, it will obviously work. Now, let me talk about Rasmus Højlund for a bit because when you talk recruitment, he's certainly for me fast becoming one of the best recruits we've had post Sir Alex Ferguson, even if he has played only a few games, but he has already shown the signs. Now, there are reports that suggest that Rasmus Højlund could be available for the Everton game. Remember, he was ruled out for about 2 to 3 weeks. There was no clarity on when. Of course, at times, Erik Ten Hag wants to sound unsure so that I think he surprises the opponent. It can be a mind game, which is okay. I think the Premier League mind games are part of it. But Højlund, it is said, could return and be available for Everton. Maybe not to start, but he could travel. He traveled to Etihad Stadium, though he did not play. He was not in the team, but I think he's progressing, and there is a chance that he could be available. Now, if we are going to save our season as Manchester United, and I've been looking at the table, and I was trying to see how logically Man United can bounce back and really uh, 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 get those 11 points that Aston Villa, who are fourth and top four, remember, is our target, ahead of us with. And I'm thinking Højlund can only happen if Højlund is there. It can only happen if Højlund is there. Because you think about our goal difference, we've got 37 goals scored and conceded 39. So we've got a goal difference of -2. And chances are the Premier League always, even if we push so hard, it might end up having to go to the wire. And you look at the teams we are competing, teams like Tottenham Hotspur or even Aston Villa, they have got 22 and 16 goals in goal difference respectively. We've got a goal difference of -2. So our goal difference alone is terrible, yet goal difference is so important in the Premier League because goals are everything anyway. So for me, the most important player, and I know we need Lisandro Martinez back in the team because of how he initiates how we play and all. But for me, because we know Martinez won't be back until April, the one player we need back like yesterday and hoping they are back on the same form is Rasmus Højlund. And the issue would be if Erik Ten Hag is not preparing for his return. And what do I mean? If we clearly see that he's a player we are missing, right now what Erik Ten Hag and his team should be doing is try to figure out ways of how they can get the ball to the striker. So that when Højlund comes, he won't need time to start again trying to get the fitness to grind for himself and get goal scoring opportunities for himself. My thinking for me is that there should be a proper preparation for Hoyland's return if it is going to help us in any way. Because Hoyland is the one player who has got the potential to even score games, 3 goals in 3 consecutive games. He can't score hat tricks consecutively if he's fed the balls the right way. Now, my thinking for me is Eric Ten Hag should be working in training with Omar Foson. The training should be how do we get the ball to Foson? So that when Hoyland comes, he just replaces Foson or whichever number 9 he has. And when the rest of the team has already learned how to get the ball there, it will be easy for Hoyland to bang in the goals. The issue is Hoyland's goals, even before getting his injury, were mostly off scraps. He would either grind and get the goal himself, he would figure it out by himself in a way. And I'm thinking, uh, Alex Jigba, whereby I appreciate your efforts, sir. Keep the good work, bro. Thank you so much, Alex Jigba. Thank you so much. I appreciate you as well. Thank you. But so for me, my worry is if Hoyland return and he could, like I said, on the 9th for the Everton game, or if not the 9th, he could be fully there for Liverpool. But my worry is if we do not prepare well for his return, he will not, because he's coming from an injury, he will not may not be as fit to grind the way he was grinding for himself before the injury. Because the goals he scored, most of the goals he scored were goals that were, they were not really assisted. He was rushing, they are fumbled. Because we don't have a play, we don't build to the goals. We don't have a playing style that creates chances. We don't have a proper playing style that creates opportunities. So for me, my thinking is this is what we need to be focusing on now. How do we get the ball to our hot striker? Because, like I've told you, we are 11 points shy of Aston Villa, but we have got a goal difference of -2. That's worrying. We need goals, and without Hoyland, we look like we're as blunt as we can be. We are as blunt as we can be. So even if he returned and we are still playing the way we are playing, he will struggle to get the goals, and we don't have the time. We don't have so many games to get the goals. We need them because they are what could actually help us finish in the top 4. For me, that's my biggest concern, and Eric Ten Hag needs to work on that. The other thing I feel Ten Hag has got to work on between now and the end of the season is the midfield balance, because like I said, we need to score the goals, but we also need to limit how many we concede, because as it is now, we've conceded more than we've scored. So if Hoyland returns and he's banging in the goals, then he cannot be scoring as we concede. Imagine before his injury how many goals he was scoring every day, but still the goal difference is -2 now. We have still conceded more. It shows you that our our formation, our systems, and you see the problem is when you concede goals, people want to put it mostly on Andre Onana. But for me, I think most of the 39 goals we've conceded have not been because of Andre Onana. They have been because of Eric Ten Hag and how he assembles the team. So how are we then going to ensure that we limit how many goals we concede, be more compact? That's another thing Eric Ten Hag has got to work on. Now I'm looking at improvements. Forget about the speculations of Dizabi and all these guys who are linked to Man United. I think Rasmus Hoyland needs to be prepared for. We need to be getting the balls to him more. Look at the stats. If you look at the stats of, let's say, Alejandro Garnacho, and let me get them because stats are important. All the people who should be supplying balls to Rasmus Hoyland are off. They are off. They are not. Garnacho's stats are shaming, to say the least. And yes, he does try to put in the hard yards and threaten and stuff, but he has got only 3 assists, Garnacho. 5 goals and 3 assists out of 25 games. So those are 8 contributions. But for a winger, you need you need assists. We expect him to having more assists. So for me, that doesn't look good at all. So that's one of our wingers. Look at Marcus Rashford. Let's see Marcus Rashford stats. So for me, for Garnacho to have more goals than stats than assists doesn't really excite me that much, because his job as a winger is mostly, yes, score, but you need to be assisting more. If you have more goals, let the assists be many as well. But uh, uh, Marcus Rashford in 25 matches 26 matches, has scored 6 goals and assisted twice. So there, you can imagine he's a winger. Yet we have a striker. So for me, my thinking is these wingers are supposed to assist more. Let me see Bruno, because he's also expected to be assisting. Bruno's stats: 6 assists for Bruno out of 26 games and 3 goals scored. More assists, but I feel like he can assist more. But he's undone by the system Eric Ten Hag plays that sees him tracking back more times than often. So how will he assist when he's mostly playing as a holding midfielder or at times even as a defender? So for me, this is the thing I think Eric Ten Hag needs to be concentrating on now, to try and so that we get the goals, because that should be the dilemma now. How do we get goals? How do we get goals? How do we concede less? Conceding is not about Onana, it's not about the defenders per se, it is about the midfield not being leaking. It leaks a lot and it puts us in dangerous situations. So for me, that's a very an extremely important one that we need to work on. Uh, of course, the pundits have been uh, a bit harsh on the team lately, on Eric Ten Hag and all, but maybe we sort of underestimate how bad our team is, and that's why many times we've come off a little harsh towards the manager. But the reality is, it's been difficult not to be harsh on him, and I want to see how we play, how we perform, because I honestly think we had a good structure against Man City. I'm just excited to see how then we are going to do or to perform against Everton, and whether Eric Ten Hag will learn anything from the pundits he clearly listens to, because I keep hearing him trying to respond to comments from pundits like Gallagher and what have you. But I honestly think for me, the the performances are consistently looking sketchy again. Today we play like this. The other time we are playing the other, like that, and that cannot really guarantee you goals. You need to have a structure under which you play to get the goals. My feeling is that that's the lack of that structure is making it difficult for us to get the goals. Think about it. The goals and how they come. Every goal comes differently. You look at Man City goals, Liverpool goals, and I feel like they come in sort of similar manners. If you look at the goals Man City scores and the goals Liverpool score, even Arsenal, they were just killing Sheffield United just last night. But you look at the goals and the way they score their goals, and you see these people trained to score goals like this, and there is a proper, chronology of how the build-up is done. Manchester United, this is 37 goals, have come in ways you can't explain. I don't think there are words that can describe how our goals come. For me, that's a problem, because then you're relying on an unknown, something unknown to get you the goals, on magic or on either some individual genius of some Bruno or some deflection or a Scott McTominay surprise header off the bench. Something, there is no proper way we score goals. And for me, that's extremely worrying at this point in the season. At this point in the season, we should already have a structure that is going to give us goals. They let them fail to come, but at least the structure under which we play to get them is there. That for me is a huge problem, and it's going to bite us at the end of the season if Eric Ten Hag does not fix it. If he stays playing the way he does, just coming and play survival football, trying to get the goals, trust you me, we will get a few, but they will never be enough, because then that way you cannot beat a single team by 4 goals. I don't think, and I'm trying to recall this season, I don't think what our I don't remember what our highest uh, scoring victory was. I think we've had a 4. If we've scored 4 goals in a game, then we've conceded 2 or 3 in that game. I want to try and recall our highest. Have we had a 5-0, 5-1, 4-1? If we have, I don't remember it. That's how rare it is. A 3-1, a 3-0. I think we had one 3-0, I think against West Ham. I don't think we had any other. So it shows you that our goal scoring is a big problem, yet it is so important when you approach the home stretch. That's the final bend of the season, because this is where the goals will save you. This is where, and it's going to get worse. Every game we play from now, Everton, name them, Chelsea, we've got Burnley, Bournemouth, name them, will need goals, and we should be able to obliterate opponents. Let me look at the of Arsenal after that 6-0 thumping of Sheffield United. Arsenal now has got a, a goal difference of 45 goals. That's the most. They have scored 68 goals and conceded 23. 68 goals is nearly double what we've scored. Can you imagine that Arsenal has scored 68 goals and conceded 23? So they've got a goal difference of 45. Wow. Hmm? Can you imagine? We've scored 37 and conceded 39. It can't be that bad, guys. We can't be that bad. And these are the things that make it difficult to defend Erik ten Hag. Because how then are you going to compete and chase 11 points if you're not scoring goals? So what training then are these players having? Are you training to score goals? You are Man United. You should be proactive. Erik ten Hag keeps saying we are proactive. We play proactive football. Which proactive football when you're not scoring goals? Because proactive football is only a sin when you score goals. Because as you say, you play, we build from the back, and then what? Play from the back and then what? And concede more goals? It doesn't make sense. So those are the things that I think make the whole, from the outside, they make the whole Man United thing with Erik ten Hag looks difficult to defend, and that's why that man Sir Jim Ratcliffe is clearly, like he said, already determined or already decided on what he wants to do with Erik ten Hag at the end of the season. I won't go into that again. But there are so many managers. In fact, there is a report I've just seen that has just come through that suggests that several managers have already, every day, several managers are approaching Manchester United for the job because they feel, they feel comes from somewhere. We all, I think, have such thoughts embedded in us at some point if we watch Man United games. But that's exactly what happens when you don't improve your team, when every day there is an excuse, every day you're making the wrong statement in the press. So it's always going to be inevitable that such a thing is going to happen. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about is Mason Greenwood. So yesterday there was a report that emerged that Mason Greenwood's image rights company went into voluntary liquidation. So meaning, and this just 2 years after his allegations and all. So that this means that the boy's image is certainly not selling anymore. It's bad. That's extremely bad to see. But I'm thinking, what then does that mean? Because if you're Manchester United, image, and that's why image rights are expensive. And Kylian Mbappe and the contract they're negotiating with Real Madrid is mostly for him to earn from his image rights than from the wages he's going to be earning given per week. But for Mason Greenwood's image rights company to go into voluntary liquidation, I think it sends a bad signal, really. And I'm not trying to be a prophet of doom, but it shows you that the image of this boy has been destroyed. And for a club like Man United, then that makes it difficult for them to come when we are looking to rebuild, but bring in such a character whose image has been completely destroyed. All this, I'm just trying to dig into how it could affect what we all want, the return of Mason Greenwood. I think that would be extremely sad. But the only hope that I have in Greenwood returning, guys, is The fact one that besides Sir Jim Ratcliffe being open to it and willing to use reason and decide and what, the reality is if Man United and Sir Jim had to pay 1.5, nearly 1.77 billion or whatever for the 27.7% shares he got in Man United, and it took him a year or so negotiating with the Glazers to get this what he got, a portion of the club, the football, to take control of what matters most to the supporters. My thinking is it is only imperative that he makes the popular decision. That is one on Greenwood, because it's a critical thing now. And I'm telling you, many people who are silent now about him and and his takeover will come decisions he makes based on football. At least let his decision be vetoed by the Glazers, who are the majority shareholders, but let him make the decision. Because I think it would be silly for Manchester United to be rebuilding, go into the market, spend 60 or 70 million quid on Michael Olise, who we've been linked with, or Pedro Neto, whoever who has been mentioned, bring in a winger, yet we have got the hottest winger in the world, and majority of the supporters want him back. I think for me, it would be borderline insane. I don't think at all for me that would make sense. That's why I think Sir Jim has got to be making that decision based on completely, strictly football matters. Let the Glazers deal with the backlash that will come after. Let them manage it. I think they can be able to manage the back, because this player, when it comes to the football, is the hottest winger in world football. He's the hottest winger now. Kylian Mbappe is not playing, literally, because they have sort of phased him out of PSG. He didn't want to play for them. So Luis Enrique is saying, why keep playing? So right now, tell me a better winger than Mason Greenwood in the world. So if you're going to come and solve, and that has been a big problem for United, we already spent 85 million on a player who failed to play in that position. Now you want to go on the market again and spend another 70 on a player for whom there is no guarantee that it will work. Yet you've got your own free player who has who wants to return, says he would be happy about returning to Man United if the chance was there. But who certainly we know that if he comes and delivers, everyone will forget about whatever he did the moment he scores a beautiful goal at Old Trafford. So for me, I think this Greenwood situation is one that Sir Jim will solve, and I'm hoping that he does solve it in the right way. And the right way for me would be that, because at least if the player wants to return, that's the motivation he would need to come out and do his best and get us dancing and smiling off our seats. So that's a very important thing, guys. I do remind you guys to, of course, try to become a member of this channel, because it's growing so fast, and I appreciate all of you. And it will be good if you became members of the United Hotspot. Let me just go back to the poll, and I see by now how it is going. I asked you who our most improved player is. I honestly, personally, think our most improved player is Andre Onana, and yeah, 38% of you think so. Diogo Dalot, 29% now. Rashford, 29% to no, Rashford 2%, Maguire 2%, Hoyland 29%. So Hoyland and Dalot are at a tie. I think for me, I will go with Andre Onana as number one. I will go with I think Onana has sort of surpassed Dalot. It was Dalot before, but now I think Onana and Hoyland can come. Hoyland was always there. He always showed the signs. Really, I don't think it's so much improvement. He's just become more. Yes, so he would be my number three because he has become more clinical. I think he buries off chances out of nothing a little more now, and that's why he has scored all those goals. But Onana has improved so much in every department of a goalkeeper, in every part of his game, and you love to see it. It then makes us look better. It improves the team in a way. Of course, it has a long way to go, but in a way, it slightly improves the team, which I think is something we'd love to see. So, yeah, That's it. I won't go into the stagnant players. I think the ones most stagnant. There are two players, and guys, there are two players who have stagnated the most. I think it is Amrabat and Anthony. Of course, for Anthony is in his own league. That one has properly flopped. Proper 85 million flop. That would be a painful loss because I think United is still paying usually in such contracts, unless you're Cristiano Ronaldo, for whom Madrid had to pay all the money, £80 million up front in the United accounts when we were signing him, when they were taking him from us. But for most of these other players, you pay in installments. The payment structure at times is in installments, maybe two or three, and stuff like that. Now with Anthony, I'm not, excuse me, I'm not privy to the installments, but the fact is, it will be painful to pay any other pound for Anthony, given how he has been a disappointment for Man United ever since we signed him from Ajax. So, uh, but Amrabat as well, we paid nearly £8 million for his loan. And people are debating. There are debates about Amrabat. There are people who feel he's a baller, but honestly, yes, he could have elements of a good player. But for me, I've never felt like since he came. Of course, I was here dancing when we were signing him. Amrabat is coming, nah, 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 if you recall, when he was coming in. But the reality is, I was disappointed by his performances. Even when we had so many injuries, he was struggling to make the team. I think he has, for me, sort of stagnated. I've not seen a game where he has done exceedingly better than he did the previous game. He's there, and his body language alone shows a player who is not confident in himself, who does not probably feel he fits into the team. Yet it's a team largely full of nobodies, but his confidence is way, way, way too low. So Amrabat is the other stagnated player for me. Who else? Uh, Lindelof is an unsung hero. I think when he's fit, Lindelof is a proper able debutant. He knows he's never going to be a starter unless we've got injuries, but whenever he's called upon, I think Lindelof always comes to the party and he delivers. So for me, I commend him. In the left, he will struggle a bit, but you still see that he puts in the work and tries to defend well and help the team. So he's another important unsung player we have got in the team. That's why I think it's difficult for even Ineos to think about letting go of Lindelof, because he's a proper backup. He's a squad player. So yeah, that's a bit like it. I think for me today, I think I've exhausted most of the things I wanted to talk about. So let me just see if there could be any breaking story. So I've told you of how it is said that Man United have been approached by representatives of several managers, believing that Eric Ten Hag could be removed from his post before the start of next season. Now, Rob Dawson, the guy who broke this, is a Man United and Man City correspondent for ESPN. So it's a credible source. So the reality is, people seriously want the man's job. So it's between him and his players to save him. So today, Harry Maguire turned 31. Yeah, Harry Maguire turned 31 today, former captain, and yeah, he could be returning in the next game, perhaps have a late birthday celebration. Born on the 5th of March 1993. So Maguire today officially turned 31. You can drop a good message for him on Instagram or Twitter if he's even on now. I don't think he's still there after what happened to him a couple of months ago. But honestly, we want to give credit, big credit, deserves all the big credit for his professionalism and his mentality. That now that he can even be a man of the match for several games, player of the month. I think honestly, Harry Maguire deserves a certain level of respect from everyone, and yeah, I think he has fought, which is important for me. I don't care so much about skills when it comes to United. You've got to be able to fight. You've got to be a fighter at least. That's a very important thing. And Harry Maguire seems to have it. He showed character, and he finally played his way up. And Eric Ten Hag gave him his chance back. And you see, you'll have to see it. But 31, I think he's now officially joined the list that Sir Jim Ratcliffe wants out, because Sir Jim Ratcliffe is known for these old players at the club. Anyhow, thank you so much, guys. Thank you for subscribing and dropping all them comments. I'll catch you again tomorrow. I've had an interesting long day today. Mason Mount is training. He could return for Mason Mount. By the way, could be available for the Liverpool game. It's highly likely that he could be available for the Liverpool game. Of course, you would ask me where will he play, but that's not up to me. He could be available on the on the 16th of this month, just the day before we do take on Liverpool in the FA Cup. Thank you so much for subscribing. My name is Webb. I will catch you again later. Thank you, everyone, and good night.